I have entrusted to chair the session, and let me thank the track coordinator, Dr. Ekil Jayawardena, and let me warmly welcome Dr. Mayuru Athapattu. Dr. Mayuru Athapattu is a senior lecturer at the Department of Human Resources Management, Faculty of Management and Finance, University of Colombo. Her research and teaching interests include leadership, knowledge management, and employee engagement. She obtained her PhD from the UNSW Canberra, Australia in 2019. Her research is published in the Journal of Knowledge Management, Journal of Information and Knowledge Management, and Knowledge Management Research and Practice Journal, among others. So we warmly welcome Dr. Athapattu. But other than that, I think Dr. Mayuru has a long-standing relationship with PIM, particularly the MBA program, PhD program. So her doctoral contribution and other works are really commendable. So thank you very much for joining with us. Dear ladies, the format is, as you know, it's 20 minutes plus 10 minutes per presenter. Let me warmly welcome to our colleagues. They are Mr. Sudesh and Shamila. So she would doing the bell, the timing part. So she would like giving a wonderful coordination. So after 15 minutes, you bring once, and then it means that you have 5 more minutes. And so at the 20th minute, she would bring twice. So that means you are compelled to stop. So after that, so both the chair and the panel will ask you comment. So audience also can ask some questions in case. Right. So in this track, originally we had 5. So the one member is having a medical challenge, so that we are missing that. So then the other 4 we are going to continue. So may I invite the first presenter, K.I. Uvesha.
Good morning, the members of the panel and audience. I'm Ishanu Resha, presenting my study on the impact of telecommuting on emotional exhaustion, role of positive affectivity, intrinsic motivation, computer self-efficacy, and digital literacy. So this is the content of my presentation. So to start off with the research problem, change is inevitable. And due to the constant change happening in the global environment, businesses have come up with different job designing techniques. And one of the highly embraced job designing technique is that telecommuting. So telecommuting is the ability to working from home or working from a remote area away from the physical office. However, although with the rise of telecommuting, the issues related to mental health problems of teleworkers has been rapidly increased. And teleworkers have continuously reported that they are experiencing emotional exhaustion, anxiety, etc. While they are doing telecommuting. Also, it has been revealed that teleworkers are emotionally exhausted. Because of that, they are comparatively less productive than the workers in the traditional working platform, which has resulted in increased the costs of the organization. So there's a very clear performance gap to identify whether there's a positive or whether there's a direct influence of telecommuting on emotional exhaustion. So moving on to the empirical gap of my study, although teleworkers are commonly report emotional exhaustion during telecommuting, Sardeshmukh et al. 2012 criticized that scholars have given much less attention on teleworker emotional exhaustion. Also, in the existing literature, it has been revealed that scholars are fundamentally focused on job-related factors and environment-related factors of teleworkers, whereas personal factors of teleworkers are quite neglected. So these empirical gaps are focusing on this study. Moving on to the theoretical gap, the conservation of resource theory, COR theory, is the base theory of this study. And COR theory discusses 4 types of resources, namely personal resources, conditional resources, energy resources, and object resources. However, theory has limited to focus on non-digital personal factors related to emotional exhaustion of teleworkers. which are very common in the traditional working platform. But with the digitalization, with the vast development of ICT, etc., scholars have revealed that there's a huge need of addressing the ICT aspects of teleworkers. Therefore, this study focuses on addressing this theoretical gap as well. With that, two research questions has been developed, which is what is the impact of telecommuting on emotional exhaustion, as well as what is the role of positive affectivity, intrinsic motivation, computer self-efficacy, and digital literacy on the relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion. So this is the purpose of my study. And based on the two research questions, three research objectives has been developed, namely to identify the impact of telecommuting on emotional exhaustion, to identify whether digital literacy mediates the relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion, as well as to identify whether positive affectivity, intrinsic motivation, computer self-efficacy moderate the relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion. So the significance of this study is this study contribute mainly to the ongoing debate of impact of telecommuting on employees, because in the existing literature, based on the impact of telecommuting on employees, mixed views has been presented where both positive and negative influences are being reported. However, this study focus on come to a kind of a conclusive vision with related to the Sri Lankan context. Also, this study addressed the neglected area of the study by incorporating personal factors of teleworkers, as well as try to extend the applicability of the CEOR theory by incorporating digital personal factors. Moving on, this study has 7 hypotheses. All the hypotheses are developed based on the existing literature. So the first hypothesis is that there's a significant impact of telecommuting on emotional exhaustion. Telework, different authors have revealed that positively relate with emotional exhaustion due to different reasons, such as stress of unpaid work, at the same time multitasking, etc. Also, teleworkers are reported to suffer from emotional exhaustion, and scholars have revealed that there's a positive relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion, as well as it has been revealed that telework entails great efforts from the employee, which has resulted in creating emotional exhaustion of teleworkers. So based on these, the first hypothesis has been developed. So the second hypothesis is that there's significant impact of telecommuting on digital literacy. This area needs further exploration in the existing literature. However, Koenig and Seifert in 2022 has revealed that all the employees who engage in teleworking are reported to experience or are reported to acquire digital skills or ICT related skills. So based on that, the second hypothesis is being developed. The third hypothesis is that there's significant impact on digital literacy on emotional exhaustion. So different scholars have revealed that lower digital literacy has resulted in emotional exhaustion of teleworkers, in which different scholars have revealed that because the employees have low digital literacy, they are suffering from solving the technological issues, which has caused the emotional exhaustion of teleworkers. So the third hypothesis is developed based on that. Fourth hypothesis is that digital literacy mediates a relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion. So this was developed based on the skill acquisition theory, in which skill acquisition theory states that when skill is acquired, eventually with the experience and the time, the skill will be internalized in them and they will be more confident on using this skill. So accordingly, this study argues that when teleworkers are engaged in telecommuting with the practice and the time, eventually they will acquire digital literacy, and when they acquire digital literacy, with the time they will be more confident and comfortable in using that skill, which will result in lowering the emotional exhaustion. So the slides, right? Oh, okay. So the next hypothesis is that positive affectivity moderates the relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion. So scholars have revealed that because of the benefits of telecommuting, such as flexibility, employees who engage in telecommuting often have positive emotions, and when they have positive emotions, that can result in lowering the emotional exhaustion. So based on that, this hypothesis is being developed. The next hypothesis is that intrinsic motivation moderates the relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion, which and scholars reveal that because of the inherent features of telecommuting which are not available in the traditional working platforms such as flexibility, multitasking, etc., teleworkers are highly intrinsically motivated, which resulted in lowering the emotional exhaustion. And finally, the next hypothesis is that computer self-efficacy moderates the relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion. Again, scholars reveal that when individuals have high computer self-efficacy or strong computer self-efficacy, they have the courage to solve the problems, solve the technical problems that comes when doing telecommuting, which could lower the emotional exhaustion. So with that, this is the conceptual framework of my study. Have 7 hypotheses with 1 mediator and 3 moderators. Moving on, methodology. My study comes under positivism, deductive approach, and quantitative study, where the survey instrument is a survey printed self-administered questionnaire. Data analysis is done through SPSS and Smart PLS, where the unit of analysis is individual teleworkers in service sector. So, so the next slide. The population of the study is that service sector teleworkers in Sri Lanka, whereas the sample is 389 service sector teleworkers in Western Province, Sri Lanka. So sampling method is convenience sampling because due to the difficulty of specifying the population, convenience sampling has been taken in this. So this is the questionnaire development. All the questionnaires taken for each construct is pre-validated questionnaires taken from the published journals. With related data analysis, pilot studies conducted with 30 responses in which all the variables are considered as reliable. This is the demographic analysis of my study, which has 5 demographic variables, and this is the descriptive statistics of my study. With related to the data set, common method bias and non-response bias was considered as absence, and the data set was normally distributed. And this is the measurement model of my study, which has 7 hypotheses. With related to the reliability of the lower order construct, all the construct, the figure received in all the construct are higher than the threshold. Therefore, it has been revealed that reliability is assured. Whereas in terms of validity, again, 3 tests has been conducted, Fonal and Laka, HTMT and AVE, and all the figures received were higher than the threshold. Therefore, the validity is also accepted. With related to higher order construct, because I had a digital literacy, it is a higher order construct. So both reliability and validity was manually calculated, and it was revealed that both reliability and validity are there in the data in that construct. Finally, coming to the findings, the first hypothesis was accepted, was supported with the p-value of 0.01. And the second hypothesis, again, there's a significant impact of telecommuting on digital literacy, again supported, whereas the third hypothesis is also supported. However, the fourth hypothesis, which is the mediating impact of digital literacy on telecommuting and emotional exhaustion, although the direct effect was supported, the indirect effect was not supported. As the p-value was higher. With related to the fifth hypothesis, the moderating role of positive affectivity, again, it was not supported because the p-value was 0.480. However, the last 2 hypotheses with related to the moderating impact of intrinsic motivation and computer self-efficacy, both the hypotheses were supported with this p-value of 0.000. With related to the discussion, the first hypothesis was supported in my study, which was validated by the empirical studies done by different authors, saying that telecommuting has a positive influence on emotional exhaustion. With related to the second hypothesis that there is significant impact on telecommuting on digital literacy. Again, although this was need more exploration, this was again validated in the empirical studies by Koenig and Savert in 2022. And also in the Sri Lankan context, it was supported as Siambalapiti and Wickramarachchi revealed that majority of Sri Lankan organizations use different strategies to encourage employees to use digital skills. So because of that, this hypothesis was also supported. The third hypothesis was there's a significant impact of digital literacy on emotional exhaustion, was also supported by the different scholars, that they are saying when employees have the high digital literacy, they excessively use IT equipments, which create high workload for them, resulting in high emotional exhaustion. With related to the fourth hypothesis, which is the mediating role of digital literacy, which was not supported in the in my study. However, in the literature, different authors reveal that, especially Helpsa and Shamil reveal that high digital literacy positively relate with excessive IT usage, which cause high workload. Now, in Sri Lankan context, again, the applicability has been accepted, where Dialvis and Hanwell in 2021 disclosed that Sri Lanka is a country which has a power structure in the organization, which means that when senior managers request or suggest for the or give any task for the junior employees, these employees are obliged to do whatever the task given by the senior managers, although those tasks are related or not related. Therefore, when senior managerial level employees, as they are not very much familiar with the digital literacy, when they ask for support from junior managers, whatever the task is, junior employees tend to do, which are digital literate employees tend to do, which has resulted in increasing their workload, leading to high emotional exhaustion. Moving on to the moderating role of positive affectivity, again, this was not supported in the study. Again, this was supported or validated in the empirical studies, where they say positive affect can co-occur even during extremely stressful situations. So this was also validated. Sixth hypothesis, intrinsic motivation, the moderating role, again supported, as literature says that when employees engage in telecommuting, they tend to experience a highly intrinsically motivated, leading to lower emotional exhaustion. Similarly, the moderating role of computer self-efficacy also supported, as scholars say that when employees have, or when teleworkers have a strong computer self-efficacy, they tend to experience lower emotional exhaustion. So moving on to the theoretical implications of my study, this study extends the applicability of the COR theory by addressing the digital personal factor. So there was a criticism that non-digital personal factors was addressed in the COR theory, which are commonly used in the traditional working platform, but there's a need of addressing digital personal factors. So by incorporating digital literacy, this study extends the applicability of the COR theory. Then this study addressed the existing discrepancy regarding the telecommuting and telecommuting on employees, because as I mentioned earlier, it has a mixed view on impact of telecommuting on employees, and based on the findings of this study, it can be mentioned that in the Sri Lankan context, it has kind of a adverse influence, and address the literature gaps, because we identified that teleworker personal factors are kind of an under-researched area. So this gap is also addressed in this. Moving on to managerial implications, this study focused more on managerial implications, where it can initiate tailored precautions that should be taken to avoid emotional exhaustion of teleworkers before implementing telecommuting. So this come up with restructuring existing organizational policies, such as restructuring the recruitment process, where from the beginning of the recruitment process, where we advertise the vacancies, we can identify what are the skills needed by teleworkers and advertise accordingly, so that we can take the best candidate. Also using personality test in the selection process, because in the selection process, we need to identify the people which have the personality to suit the teleworking context, because teleworking is quite different from the traditional working platform. Also giving kind of structured formal induction process, so that employees know the benefit of telecommuting, so that they won't resist to adopt this change. Moving on, cluster the job and use team approach to lower the emotional exhaustion. So when you cluster the job and when you have kind of a team approach, then employees are not trying to rely more heavily on one or few digitally literate individuals. Instead, they can share the work. However, we suggest that to give distinct tasks and individualized target, so that heavy reliance on digital literate individuals will not be there within the team. Also, this study identified that intrinsic motivation, computer self-efficacy can alter the negative influence. Therefore, initiate customized training programs to enhance these skills of the employees so that they can bear up with those consequences. And adopting hybrid mode, which is very, very important, because telecommuting is inevitable in the near future. However, we identify the adverse consequences of telecommuting as well. So to balance these things and to come to a win-win situation, it is recommended to have a hybrid mode, which is also supported in the existing literature. So with that, limitations of one of the main limitation is that I have a limited sample which is restricted only for the Western province. And the future research directions, there was an unexpected kind of a finding where the mediation role of digital literacy was not supported. So the reasons for these findings is needed to be explored more. Moving on with the conclusion, this study focused on mainly identifying the influence of telecommuting on emotional exhaustion and the role of selected personal factors on the above relationship, and identified that there's a direct positive influence of telecommuting on emotional exhaustion, and a positive effect and intrinsic motivation and computer self-efficacy moderate the relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion. However, digital literacy was not revealed to be mediate the relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion, as well as positive affectivity was not revealed to be moderating the relationship between telecommuting and emotional exhaustion. Thereby, this study alarms HR practitioners, because telecommuting is something that we cannot avoid in the future. Therefore, when you before implementing telecommuting as well as while implementing telecommuting, it is needed to continuously monitor the process in order to reap benefits for both parties, which is management as well as employees. So with that, these are the references of my study. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. The floor is yours for the questions.
Thank you, Ms. Suresh. Thank you very much. Keep the time continuing for us also. Before I hand over to the panel, Dr. Athapattu to comment on, now just to remind for the betterment of the audience, those who are in virtual as well as physical, I can see that quite a number of the current research learning partners are here to get some comments. But the nature of the format of this stream is that Ms. Uresh and all the other presenters have gone through the mill, they have gone through the process, and they have done the presentations and they completed. Now today, we want to get some other views and few comments and like few research additional areas of interest. So that's what the whole purpose. With that, may I invite Dr. Athapattu to give some comments.
Yes, thank you. Now, Uresha, I have, when hearing to your presentation, it seems like you are very passionate about it. You are living with your research and all. Congratulate on that. And I'm really happy that you did a very structured and very impressive sort of a presentation with everything in line. Right. So now I hope now you are sort of in the process of developing a paper or, sort of publishing it somewhere. Right. So my main comment is now your theoretical contribution or theoretical gap you are trying to tell. It's maybe a problem of communication. You are telling COR is not addressing the personal folk-centric factors. Do you have the authority to say that?
Madam, actually, I was having kind of misunderstanding there. I mean, when I was doing my thesis, then after the comments, I was got in Viva also, so that I converted it as the applicability of COR theory will be kind of extended. The applicability, which is what given in the Viva.
I would rather, sort of you to think about maybe this theory has not been used to see this causality, maybe in that way, even not even extending the applicability or whatever, rather than telling in that way. So this particular theoretical lens has not been used in addressing this particular relationship or causality or something like that. I would be benefiting rather than telling in that way. Other than that, now your study is individual level, right?
Yes.
Right. So when you are sort of presenting, you are mostly focused on the organization and the telecommunicating practice at the process level and the organizational level. So you keep on forgetting this central idea of the person, right? So I invite you to think about, keep your focus on the individual rather than always sort of talk about the practice and the organization, right? In your write-up, maybe more teleworker, right? Teleworking employee may perceive, they experience or something like that. So you can think about, right? One last thing. Now you have considered the companies who are practicing teleworking.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So how about the maturity? Are everyone equal level of implementation or sort of, 20% of teleworking or 80% of teleworking? So how do you address that?
Yes, madam. There was a filtering question in my questionnaire, which kind of identified the degree of the telecommuting, which I had like less than 30%, 30%, 50%, and 100%. And I have taken the responses from 50% onwards, because even 30% means that the degree of telecommuting is quite low, so that we can measure the reliability of the data. So from 50% onward, I have filtered my responses.
Okay, right. So that's great. That better you include that as a sample selection criteria or something like that. So
Okay.
that, and also you can discuss that in your discussion, right? In the context of where the teleworking is 50% of their daily routine. Maybe you bring that argument because novelty of your study really lies in this particular context, right? With that, I congratulate you and finish my comments.
Thank you so much, madam.
How many more minutes? Finish. Right. So since time is up, Mr. Suresh, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Atapattu. So this has a lot of implications for, now you have indicated that HR policy, get the rearrangement, team culture, bringing into, but one area that you have highlighted, this personal level factors to be further explored. I think that plays a vital role of execution of the policies. So then, like, have you thought about to get this publications to the next level, or like extending your research?
I have thought about publishing in a journal article, like,
Right.
yes.
Okay, wonderful.
In the
Right.
process.
So then, once again, congratulations.
Thank you so
Keep your
much.
good work continuing. All the
Thank you
best.
so much.
Right.
Thank you.
So with that, may I invite the next presenter to settle down, open your presentation. MRMCJK Ratnayaka. She is going to present the impact of cross-generational knowledge sharing on innovative behavior, the role of H organization factors.
Good morning to all the respected panel members here today and the audience. I'm Chamita Ratnayaka, a postgraduate student at PIM. I'm here to present my management research project titled Impact of Cross-Generational Knowledge Sharing on Innovation Behavior. So the role of organization factors. So this is the outline of my presentation. And when it comes to the research problem, I can identify my problem under three main gaps: performance gap, empirical gap, and theoretical gap. So when it comes to the performance gap, my main motivation came from the gap in the identified from the global innovation index, and that report in the experiment the national digital policy for Sri Lanka. So I identified that when Sri Lanka moving to an experimental nation, so we have to promote innovation efficiency in our country. So in global innovation index ranking also very unsatisfactory in Sri Lanka. So yeah, even on the other hand, above 60 workforce is rising, and there is a higher job hopping trend in younger workers. So there is a evidence, like there is a there is a challenge in issue in bridging the gap in generational gaps in this IT industry. So I have identified this as the performance gap. And when it comes to the empirical gap, I have identified that the formal and informal interactions need to identify to improve the effect of identify the cultural variables in promoting innovation behavior. And I have identified that Kulangar et al. Have identified that information sharing, so that we have to identify the mediating effect of trust and other things, and in promoting innovation behavior. So I also wanted to identify what are the factors that innovation behavior in the IT workers in Sri Lanka. So here to bridge that gap in the cultural context, I have identified these gaps, empirical gap, and also Libovis suggested to use a larger sample size to identify these, to test this research area. So when and also there are a few number of studies done relating to this research area. So the theoretical gap. So when it comes to theoretical gap, Fodreg suggested that the age and those personal characteristics are not that much tested in previous literature. So I used pro-social. I wanted to identify what is the impact of pro-social motivation and self-efficacy on promoting innovation behavior of the employees with the impact of like individual indirect impact, sorry, with the independent impact of cross-generation knowledge sharing. So knowledge sharing among different, how the knowledge sharing among different generations could promote innovation behavior. So with the the impact of edge organization factors. So I have identified the social cognitive theory as the base theory, which is trying to identify the how the employee innovation can promote through promote through observation and experience sharing. So then social network theory also used as a supporting theory, and organization learning theory, which is trying to identify sorry. Sorry for the inconvenience. I wanted to identify these. I wanted to identify the relationship between those theories and the how we can use these theories to promote innovation behavior. And so these are the research question I discussed. So what is the impact of cross-generation knowledge sharing on innovation behavior, and what is the influence of knowledge share self-efficacy on impact of on innovation behavior, and in terms of pro-social motivation on edge organization factors, and cross-generation knowledge sharing on edge organization factors, and finally the impact of edge organization factors on knowledge sharing and innovation behavior. So the purpose of my research is to investigate the effect of cross-generation knowledge sharing, edge organization factors, knowledge self-efficacy, and pro-social motivation on innovation behavior is how we can achieve it through organizational learning theory. So this is the significance of my study. So I wanted to extend the social network theory by adding pro-social motivation concept to this, and also wanted to this study contributes to the organization theory by improving in how we can identifying how we can promote innovation through knowledge sharing across different generations. And also I wanted to identify how this cross-generation knowledge sharing could bridge the generation gap and to improve how it can improve the knowledge self-efficacy. And also I have found that there is the impact of edge organization factors. Identify the edge here before going into that concept. Edge organizations are the organizations where employees are empowered to take decisions and do creative things. So those organizations where the employees are motivated to work as teams. So these organizations, especially IT sector organizations, are related to these, are coming under this edge organization. So in IT sector organization, we can observe these characteristics, edge organization factors, what is called interoperability, agility, awareness, decentralized knowledge sharing, situational leadership, network-centric focus, cross-generation knowledge sharing. So these are the things that I use to identify the impact on macro factors that could mediate the relationship between this innovation, cross-generation knowledge sharing and innovation behavior. So when it comes to empirical significance, there are few number of studies have conducted related to this area, and so the generational differences and other things relating to innovation is not discussed, is rarely discussed in the extant literature. So then also this helps to provide insight and mechanisms, facilitate knowledge sharing, and also here edge organization factors are identified to promote innovation behavior in edge organizations. So then managerial significance, the importance of creating environment to managers can use this concept to create an environment which can foster innovation behavior using organization factors identified earlier. So interoperability, agility, shared awareness, decentralized knowledge command, and situation leadership. So these things, and so we can use this to leverage the cross-generation knowledge sharing and foster innovation capabilities. And also we can do succession planning, because we can address the gaps in generational gaps, knowledge gaps. So then we can use it to plan our human capital and in organization. So like that. And these are the hypotheses of my study. So cross-generation knowledge sharing impacts the innovation behavior, how we can, as identified by Pian and Crosan, so knowledge sharing and flow can improve the innovation and integration of knowledge that could create new ideas and innovation behavior. And knowledge self-efficacy moderates the cross-generation knowledge sharing and innovation behavior. So Podrak also identified that knowledge sharing, providing cross knowledge about task information and know-how, and assisting others in problem resolution. And pro-social motivation moderates the edge organization factors. So they are how pro-social here it has identified that pro-social motivation moderates the association between edge organization elements and employee creativity. So then next hypothesis, cross-generation knowledge sharing impacts edge organization factors, how edge organization factors foster cross-generation knowledge sharing. So it has done by Libowitz in 2007. So so here they have identified that there is a positive influence on knowledge sharing and intention to engage in knowledge sharing. So then edge organization factors mediates the relationship between knowledge sharing, cross-generation knowledge sharing and innovation behavior, also tested by Libovis and other researchers listed here. So then the sixth hypothesis, there are edge organization factors impacts innovation behavior. It was tested by the Chang and Wang. So these researchers found that intention toward such more likely to occur, innovation more likely to occur when there is whenever there is friendly organization factors to that foster innovation behavior. And this is the conceptual framework of my study. So my independent variable is cross-generation knowledge sharing. So the knowledge, how the knowledge sharing happens among different generations, and the dependent variable is innovation behavior. So that is the first hypothesis, how cross-generation knowledge sharing could foster innovation behavior. And then I wanted to identify the impact of edge organization factors in mediating the relationship, in strengthening the relationship between knowledge sharing and innovation behavior. And I have identified moderators, knowledge self-efficacy, and pro-social motivation. So this is the methodology of my study. My overall study design is positivistic and using the deductive approach and quantitative. It is a quantitative study which used cross-sectional study, and it used survey as a strategy. So then survey instrument was structured self-administered questionnaire, and data analysis was done using smart PSS and SPSS, and unit analysis was individuals and IT professionals, and population was ICT professionals work in virtual teams. Since I used, we can consider IT organization as edge organization, edge organizations where employees are empowered to do creative and innovative things. So I have used IT sector organizations and ICT professionals as my population, and I selected 400 ICT professionals who work virtual basis, and then sampling method was purposive sampling, and I wanted to ensure the accuracy of the sample, so therefore I used purposive sampling method. So this is the questionnaire development, and I used 10 items to test the cross-generation knowledge sharing, shared understanding, reciprocity, intrinsic worth of knowledge, then other aspects. And edge organization factors was tested here, these 9 items. So then pro-social motivation using 5 items, and innovation capability using 5 items, knowledge self-efficacy using 3 items likewise. So then survey data, I collected 382 questionnaires, and my effective response rate is 95.5%. And the data analysis, when it comes to data analysis, I used a pilot study to identify the accuracy or the reliability of the data set. And so it was satisfied. And here the demographic profile of my sample, and these descriptive statistics was tested using common method bias and non-responses bias. So these things are listed here. So then the multivariate assumptions, these things, normality, multicollinearity, linearity, and homoscedasticity was tested, and those things were satisfied. And these are the statistical findings. So then the analysis of this is a structural equation model I developed for my study, and so this is the measurement model. So the validity and reliability was also tested, and the composite reliability value is over 0.7, and also AV was adjusted to get satisfactory values there. And these are the discriminant validity and other things. Due to time constraint, I have to skip these things. And when it comes to hypothesis testing, I found that the indirect direct impact was supported, and other indirect effects of moderators are not supported. But the mediator, there was a significant impact of mediator on the direct impact. That means the edge organization factors could foster the innovation behavior by improving cross-generation knowledge sharing among different generations. And so these things were identified. I can discuss this. My hypothesis was in line with the previous research. Some of hypotheses are not in line with previous research. So so these cross-generation knowledge sharing and innovation behavior has a positive impact in the study done by PIMARC. But in my study, it is not in line with that finding. And then Podrug found that no influence of knowledge self-efficacy on employee knowledge sharing behavior. So so here I found that knowledge that relationship is insignificant, and pro-social motivation has an impact on edge organization factors. So Pulangra has found that there is a positive impact, but in the study it was found insignificant. But finally, last hypothesis, its organization factors has a significant positive effect, and it is congruent with early study done by Chen. So so the implications when it comes to my study, so this the theoretical, when it comes to theoretical implications, I think here pro-social motivation could encourage innovation behavior. So it can foster the knowledge sharing of employees, and extend this study could extend the organization learning theory by adding edge organization factors as the mediator. It is a new concept, and adding cross-generation knowledge sharing concept that helps to promote knowledge sharing across generations, and creating new knowledge across generations. So these are the managerial implication. We can identify criteria. So here on the organization level, government level, and industry level, organization level, organizations can promote employees knowledge sharing through by fostering edge organization factors and facilitating an environment which can promote knowledge sharing, and through that they can promote innovations, and also they can promote innovation behavior with using these edge organization factors. And government level, government can use these factors to identify make different policies that could lead to promote innovation efficiency in the workforce. Then industry level, these things can be used by industry to make succession planning and make human capital related strategies, and so promote knowledge sharing among different generation, different companies even. So so this will help to promote knowledge sharing and innovations in the industry. So these are the limitations of my study. So I have used here the purposive sampling technique. So so it will not show all the like populations data. So there are also a limit of like we can't generalize the findings, because I only took IT professionals here. But edge organization include different organizations where individuals are empowered to make decisions and do innovations. So future researchers can use large sample to improve the generalizability, and to use different industry to test these edge organization factors, and how they can decide how they can use these samples and all. So then in conclusion, I can say that knowledge, so I found that edge organization factors plays a significant role in promoting innovation behavior. So so it strengthen the direct relationship between cross-generation knowledge sharing and innovation behavior. So so I found that there is a significant impact of edge organization factors on it. So these are the reference of my study. So thank you for your attention.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Ratnayakar, for that wonderful presentation. Straight away, you will take. Right. So you can take a couple of.
Now, Chamita, thank you. The one comment, may I know, in your first implication, you have mentioned pro-social motivation
Yeah.
can foster knowledge.
Share.
So it is not proved in your study.
Yes, yes.
So then
There
how
are some
do you
moderating effects. So those moderating effects are not proved significant.
Yes,
Yeah.
then you cannot claim it.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, I have adjusted it in my empirical paper.
Yes, so you have to be mindful on that because it was not supported. You cannot claim it as a theoretical implication. Okay, right. With that, I hand over.
Like one from the audience, anyone would like to ask a question or a comment? Who would like to clarify anything? No? Okay. One area now, since you have given a lot of implications to the government sector level, the managerial social implications. So out of your study, in terms of we want to like, let's say Sri Lanka is seriously looking for this global innovation index. From that point of view, would you like to add any point that any value additions coming from your study to that?
Yes, even any sector can use these edge organization factors, agility, shared awareness, decentralized knowledge flows, network-centric focus, these things to promote innovation behavior across different generations and different employees. So government can make like different policies to give employees more empowerment, and they can provide them more freedom to engage in new creative thinking and creative aspects. So then they can.
That is the government sector level. From an institution's point of view, one advice you like to give to HR, like we can implement out of your study to get the
Yeah.
people's innovation behavior increase.
Yeah, in IT sector especially, HR can
Is it only
promote.
IT sector?
Yeah, I used IT sector, but they can create more team based like team based projects and all to promote these innovation behavior, including employees from different age groups, coming under different generations, so they can promote their experience, they can share their experience, even employees above 60 and also they can like
Can join.
50, they have more experience rate into the job. But even in IT sector especially, there are more Y generation people belong to Y generation, so they are more technocentric, so they are more innovative, but there is a generation gap. So even elder people can learn from younger, so there should be like that freedom. So even they should shared awareness and even interoperability, so the ability to collaboratively work with different generation without creating any barriers and or gaps, so they can make decisions together and create new things with together.
Okay, so all the best. Keep your good work
Thank you.
continuing. All the best. Let me invite Ms. M.A.S.H. Sugatapala to present the shades of individual investment decisions, qualitative inquiry. Welcome, Mr.
Good afternoon all. I am Sachini Sugatapala and my research topic is the shades of individual investment decisions, a qualitative inquiry. This is my presentation outline, and there are varieties of financial products including equity, government securities, debentures, unit trust, insurance products, retirement plans, etc. Also, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka in 2020 offered new investment choices such as real estate, state investment trust, new retirement plans, and equity and corporate bond derivatives. Nevertheless, there should be a significant need for retirement plans, pension goods, and insurance products due to the high aging population in Sri Lanka. But there is an increasing tendency for savings and fixed deposits, remarking a notable absence in other financial products in Sri Lanka. For example, even though there are over 750,000 central depository accounts, only about 25,000 accounts are actively trading and the balance remain as duplicate or dormant account in respect to the call of Jayawardena 2021. When compared to many emerging nations, Sri Lanka is regarded as a nation wrapped with an excellent educational system and a greater population of literacy. As evident from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka 2020, 92% adult literacy nominated Sri Lanka as the most literate nation in South Asian. But on the other hand, in the Global Financial Literacy Survey conducted by more than 150,000 adults in over 140 countries, Sri Lanka had the greatest financial literacy percentage compared to its South Asian counterpart. Meanwhile, Jain and others in 2022 have illuminated that Sri Lanka has a poor level of financial literacy and a sizable difference between financial literacy and literacy. At my study performance gap is lack of financial literacy to make selection among portfolio of investments. When we move in toward the empirical gap, the diverse psychological behaviors illuminate the reality that investors are subject to bias, have limited to their controls, and are not always rational. But Lawrence in 2013 claimed that under certain settings, investors will act more rationally, while under other circumstances, they may act irrationally or imbalance. School of contemporary thoughts, including rational behavior, cognitive dissonance, prospect theory, heuristics, and others, have shown that these hypotheses are consistent and unable to explain why investors behave in such an unpredictable manner. Patel and others in 2019 highlighted in their fundamental studies that people rarely have enough information, motivation, or time to make fully rational decisions, and other researchers in 2014 stated that individual or organizational investment decisions may be subject to varieties of behavioral factors such as financial literacy, emotions, knowledge, skills, confidence, biases, etc. So moving toward the theoretical gap, in my study, I have selected two theories, theory of planned behavior and modern portfolio theory. In the theory of planned behavior, it is consisted with three major behavioral components such as behavioral attitudes, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral controls. This study developed the concept indicator model without compromising the theory of planned behavior. The prospect theory explained how a person would make decision in a situation when the outcome was unknown, and while selecting the components like financial knowledge and the role of risk tolerance, the researcher have used the prospect theory to add more value to the study and to ascertain the application of modern portfolio theory in this study. So keeping with this vein, it is important to understand the reason behind the increasing tendency of investors for savings and fixed deposits by remarking on a notable absence in other financial products in Sri Lanka. And the researcher have highlighted three research questions, and the research objectives are to explore the factors of financial literacy that are mostly contribute to individual investment decisions, and to explore how financial literacy contribute to individual investment decisions, and to explain the role of risk tolerance in the relationship between financial literacy and individual investment decisions. So moving toward the significance of the study, the financial literacy enables better personal financial management, which result in a more efficient capital structure. And this study is very pertinent in educating various stakeholders like investors, policymakers, Ministry of Finance, as well as the entire government on effective, efficient, and more precise policy making. And this study will help regulatory authorities to promote integrity and quality in the financial market, and to reduce spending and boost saving, which will reduce the amount of money in circulation and cause stability in the interest rates and inflation. And this study will provide a significant contribution to the body of knowledge among academics, and this study will broaden the literature to discuss the advantages of financial literacy and to distill a misconceptions held by certain investments. So moving towards the developed propositions, while developing the concept indicator model, the researcher has used two main propositions. Under first proposition, it consisted with 4 sub-propositions and backbone or supported by the literature reviews. So here I am not going to discuss these things in deep. I'll move into toward the concept indicator model. This is the concept indicator model developed by the researcher. So financial literacy contributes to the individual investment decisions. As I previously mentioned, the financial literacy consists with 4 behavioral components: financial attitudes, social norms, perceived behavioral control, and financial knowledge. And each behavioral component contributes to the individual investment decision. So the risk tolerance play the moderating role in the concept indicator model, and it shows the contribution to the relationship between financial literacy and individual investment decisions. So moving towards the methodology, within the paradigm of interpretivism, the current study employed the qualitative research design and the qualitative inquiry approach. And the researcher used one-on-one interview as the survey instrument, and the thematic analysis is the data analysis technique which is used in the data analysis process. So individual level is the unit of analysis, and the study population consists with senior executive grade employees, and the sample consists with 20 senior executive respondents in 2 leading manufacturing companies in Colombo district. While selecting the sample, the researcher used purposive sampling technique to select the initial respondent, and thereafter applied the snowball sampling technique to identify the balanced respondents. So this is the interview guide developed. It consists with 20 interview questions, and the interview guide was very helpful to the researcher while keeping the respondent on track while conducting the interviews. So when we move into the data analysis, code and themes, well, as per the thematic analysis, once we finish off with the interpretations, transcriptions, and next the step is to coding. The researcher have highlighted latent codes, which is displayed in here, and the developed themes are there, right? So let's move in toward the data analysis results. So as per the results generated in accordance with the first proposition, financial attitudes contribute to individual investment decision, the researcher have highlighted that most of the respondents in the sample have invested in savings and fixed deposits due to easy access, lack of understanding of the products, and minimum interference, security, and fixed return at the end of the maturity. In the second proposition, subjective norms contribute to individual investment. Under the study results have proved that family is the foundation for each investor, which directed them to invest their excess money in savings and fixed deposit. So when we move in toward the perceived behavioral controls contribute to individual investments, the results of the data analysis showed that individuals who have already invested in share market keep alert on share fluctuations online or through agents, or the investors who have invested in saving accounts, they already check their monthly interest rates with their banks, and they always keep in-depth analysis on the available savings, level of accessibility, the risk tolerance, also need to consider it as best practice before entering any financial product. So once we move in toward the fourth proposition, financial knowledge contributes to individual investment decision. The result have showed that respondents acquired knowledge of financial products initially from their family, the primary school, secondary school, university, friends, media, and financial institutions gradually. And based on investors' education level, the knowledge of financial products may depend and cause for investment decision. The last proposition, which is risk tolerance, contribute to the relationship between financial literacy and individual investment decisions. The results showed that most respondents are risk takers. The respondents would like to take the risk embedded in the share market, and they accept the grade saying higher the risk, higher the return. The risk takers have invested in volatile markets such as share market, and risk averse individuals refuse to take the risk, and therefore they invest in light products which have lesser risk like saving accounts and fixed deposits. So moving toward the discussion, most of the respondents have stated that they have already invested in savings and fixed deposit due to its less risk, fixed return at the maturity, easy access and familiarity, etc. The majority are inclined to choose simple, classic financial products over more complex, riskier, but perhaps more profitable financial products. The findings were supported by Edrisinghe and others in 2015, who showed low financial literacy motivates respondents to basic financial product to secure investors from financial losses. As per the study result, it was proved that most families have been motivated to go for saving accounts in their childhood, and some were moved to another financial products when they were educated more about financing. Thematic analysis have shown that individual choices and decisions would lead to avoiding some mistakes and limiting their losses to make optimal financial decisions while maximizing individuals' financial well-being. An individual used to maintain a higher level of discipline, like being aligned with the rules and regulations, accepting transparency, peacefulness, and multiple portfolio allowed to mitigate risk. The knowledge of financial products initially from family, then primary schools, secondary schools, universities, friends, etc., gradually influences individual investment behaviors. As evident by the following quote, the findings have concluded that financial knowledge of financial products may depend on and causes individuals' investment decisions. In contrast to the finding, it was revealed that some respondents are risk takers while others are risk averse. The risk taker or risk averse individuals would like to experience different financial products. While observing their behavior, it was clear that financially aware individuals tend to invest under risk. So with that, the results revealed that an individual's behavior related to investment decisions in interpersonal and that risk tolerance mediate the relationship between financial literacy and investment decisions. Furthermore, the respondents that were weighted to one side implied that the level of individuals' financial literacy controls their desires to expand their investment strategies. So when we move into the theoretical implication, this study has added a new shade to the original theory of planned behavior by adding financial knowledge, and it controlled the overlaps with the prevalent components of attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavior control. To broaden the horizon of theory of planned behavior, risk tolerance also took part by bonding the prospect theory. However, the theoretical explanation has hardly ever been used to explain the link between financial attitudes, subjective norms, perceived behavior control, and financial knowledge with risk tolerance. As a result, this study provides another theoretical contribution to the field by examining the direct contribution of risk tolerance through the relationship between financial literacy and individual investment decision. So managerial implication of the study, this study provides the importance of financial literacy to enhance the investment behavior of individuals. Enlightens financial attitudes, behavioral controls, subjective norms, and financial knowledge will increase individual attraction toward investment products and lead to decentralize the investment portfolios. In this vein, the contribution from financial advisors, policymakers, and financial institutions is required to raise the level of financial literacy to increase the demand for complex financial products. Additionally, individual investors can minimize their rate of financial failures. And finally, people can prevent concrete precautions by purposefully avoiding such biases while making financial decisions. So there are some limitations in my study as well. The study sample consisted with 20 responded with limited variables, and due to time and cost constraints, this study has frozen to limited psychological factors, and the combination of judgmental and snowball sampling method may have minimal shortcoming in terms of population variability and representability. And since this is a qualitative study, it was incredibly difficult to translate the perspectives of senior managers. And while obtaining permission for interviews, particularly throughout the data collection phase, was very difficult, and some managers did not want their conversations to be recorded. and there is a probability of not receiving genuine answers, as well as it is difficult to disclose some sensitive information, and there is a limitation that the major area of limitation is the poor attention to the interview questions. So with that, my research direction, the future studies might determine the function of individual decision making with the combination of varied psychological variables, and it is suggested to conduct the same study in different regions of the nation with variety of population. And the study hereby invite future researchers to conduct the quantitative study to validate the finding of this qualitative research and examine the relationship between financial literacy, risk tolerance with the individual investment decision in manufacturing companies in Sri Lanka. So this is the thematic map generated by the researcher. With that, I will wind up my presentation. Thank you.
Keep the presentation. Right. So, Dr. Athavatu, we'll start.
Yes, Ms. Sugadapala, one straight three things. One is you use the word etc. Right? Doesn't mean anything in scholarly work. Right? So don't use that etc. In your study. One concern, you have used theory of planned behavior.
Yes.
Right? But you are doing it in an interpretivist perspective.
Yes.
How did you match your theoretical lens with the interpretivist methodology?
Yes, since this is a qualitative research, I want to add something more to the theory of planned behavior without compromising the originality. That's why I use the theory of planned behavior with adding the knowledge, financial knowledge to the concept indicator model.
Understand, but make sure that theory of planned behavior is a highly positivistic, quantitative theory, which is developed to test the relationships. That you use that theory to do your study in a qualitative way. So that misalignment is there. You may need to bring a justification, maybe in your area of studies, which has used this theory of planned behavior. Otherwise, your theory and the methodology doesn't fit well,
Yes.
right? And the other one, which approach of thematic analysis you used?
I used thematic analysis by developing the codes and themes.
Yes, so there are multiple thematic analysis suggested by various scholars. So Brown and Clark is the most common one that we are using. So have you used any particular?
Yes, I use the Brown and Clark as the literature.
So then be careful when you are presenting, because Brown and Clark presented very unique 5 steps in thematic analysis, where you have initial coding, categorization, and then organizing. So you cannot really directly go with your latent codes to your theme, right? So therefore, be mindful in further refining your study to get it ready for a publication. So with that, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Right. So, Ms. Sugatapala, apart from the structural areas, now this end of the day, the investment failures we want to avoid. Investors want to avoid, and the others do not want to make jeopardize of these investment decisions. So what is the key advice that out of your study you like to give to the investing community?
Yes, the investors, they have some knowledge once they go in for investments. So by keeping that investment knowledge, I advise them not to go for investment, but there are some options like banks or other financial institutions, even they may ask from the senior investors, at least they should ask from the senior investors, this option is good, or are there any better options for financing? It is the better, without a blind idea going for an investment option, it may be a risk in future. So my research, I want to convince people not to go for savings or fixed deposits. There are some other good financial products.
Right. Okay. So thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you.
Right. So let's go to the last presentation under this stream 1. P. Bhagya Di Fernando, let me invite her to present individual focused transformational leadership and individual work performance with the team, the role of work engagement and regulatory focus. Over to you, Mr. Bhagya.
Good afternoon from the distinguished members of the panel and from the distinguished members of the audience. I'm here to present my research, which I submitted to PIM as a partial fulfillment of my MBA, titled Individual Focused Transformational Leadership and Individual Work Performance Within a Team, the Roles of Work Engagement and Regulatory Focus. My MRP research conducted under the supervision of Dr. A.K.L. Jayawardena. And this would be my outline, and I will start with my research problem, which I will present in terms of the performance gap, empirical gap, and the theoretical gap. So starting off with the performance gap, as we all know, in the modern world of work, contemporary organization is a collection of teams. Each individual member within this team plays a very crucial role in terms of determining the team performance as well as the organizational performance. However, when we look at the research as well as the industrial practices, we can see that there are variations of performances in terms of these individual members of these teams, which obviously impacts the team performance and the organizational performance. This interestingly happens even when the team members are reporting to the same leadership. So even under the same leader who displays leadership, the variations can occur among these team members. So in the modern world of work, it has become a great challenge for the leader to obtain consistent performance from all the team members in the team. So having this performance gap in our mind, when we connect it to the empirical literature, I am choosing the theory of transformation as we are one of the most studied organizational, out of which transformational leadership, the theory of transformational leadership, is considered to be one of the most prominent and most studied leadership theories in the world, with very extensive empirical literature. In the initial times, the influence of transformational leadership was considered to be unitary, meaning that the leader would display the same leadership to the entire team as well as to all the individual members of the team. But however, subsequently, a contradicting idea was proposed mainly through the seminal article of Kark and Shamir in 2002, where they said the influence of transformational leadership is complex, and they introduced the dual effects of transformational leadership, titled as individual focused transformational leadership and group focused transformational leadership. In a nutshell, they say that the leader can display a leadership style to the entire team in common, as well as the leader can display different leadership levels to different members within the same team based on the members' attributes. So in connecting to the empirical gap, these two dual effects of transformational leadership is heavily understudied in the empirical literature, as well as specifically, if I'm in my research, I'm looking at individual focused transformational leadership, which states that the leader would display different levels of leadership, transformational leadership, the influence to different members of the same team. So in terms of that, the empirical literature is very scarce. So in addition to that, how individual focused transformational leadership derives high performance from individual followers is again very heavily understudied in the empirical literature. So in connecting this with my theoretical gap, I am again looking at the theory of transformational leadership. And in the theory, though it is it's at a very mature stage, very high extensive empirical literature base is there. However, it is not very extensive when it comes to individual focused transformational leadership, in the sense that how individual focused transformational leadership improves the followers' performance is not sufficiently explained through the theory, as well as the seminal article by Kark and Shamir. As a future direction, they have proposed to consider attributes of the followers, the team members. So in connecting that, as well as based on extant literature, I am considering the attributes of work engagement of the follower and regulatory focus of the follower in terms of understanding how individual focused transformational leadership develops, improves the individual members' performance. So in combination, these are my research questions of the study. The purpose of my study is to examine the influence of individual focused transformational leadership in deriving a higher performance, high individual work performance from each follower within the team by incorporating the roles of the follower's work engagement and the follower's regulatory focus. And in accordance to that, I have 3 research questions, and based on that, 3 research objectives. So my significance of the study is twofold. I have theoretical, in terms of theoretical significance, I look towards to contributing to the theory of transformational leadership by constructing a more sophisticated profile of individual focused transformational leadership, specifically on that aspect, as well as I earlier told you, the initial seminal work of transformational leadership considered transformational leadership to be a unitary construct. So the effects, the complex influence of transformational leadership was not properly recognized. However, subsequently, scholars moved towards dual effects of transformational leadership, and in accordance to that, I also look towards considering the complex influence of transformational leadership, as well as in terms of transformational leadership, the most popular and most used conceptualization is called MLQ. However, the MLQ has also faced criticisms from the scholars, even though it is the most used conceptualization and operationalization, because the MLQ does not recognize the complex influence of transformational leadership. It does not recognize the different levels. It treats transformational leadership as an umbrella construct. So I look towards to departing from that as well. And in terms of managerial significance, there are significance in terms of recruitment decisions, selections, and onboarding decisions for a company, in terms of learning and development, as well as in terms of improving performance from each and every member of the team. I will connect and explain this furthermore in terms of my contributions. In terms of developing the hypothesis, there are 6, and the first 4 hypotheses are developed mainly based on an area of neglect in empirical literature. All 6 hypotheses are based on extant literature, but the first 4 hypotheses are mainly based on area of neglect. So the first, second, and third hypothesis test direct relationships, and the 4th hypothesis tests the mediation of work engagement, and the 5th and 6th hypotheses are actually derived from an area of contradiction in the empirical literature. This is where I bring regulatory focus. If I explain that to you a bit in detail, regulatory focus, there are 2 types. It means there's a promotion regulatory focus and prevention regulatory focus. I will explain this through my conceptual framework for a better understanding. So promotion regulatory focus states that a worker is motivated through presence of motivating factors. For example, promotions, praise, acknowledgement. But a person, on the other hand, the prevention regulatory focus, a person with a prevention regulatory focus would be motivated by the absence of negative factors. For example, avoiding punishments, or avoiding avoiding any harsh feedback from the supervisor. So they are trying to avoid. So those are 2 different types of regulatory focuses. So my hypothesis, the last 2 hypotheses are based on these 2 factors. So there's a contradiction in the literature, as you can see on the slides. So I wanted to test and see which would support individual focused transformational leadership more. So I have work engagement of the follower as the mediation, as you can see, and promotion regulatory focus and prevention regulatory focus as 2 moderating variables. So I wanted to see what are the roles played by these attributes of the follower in terms of deriving a higher performance from each individual member of the team when individual focused transformational leadership is depicted by the leader. In terms of my methodology, this is a purposive, descriptive, quantitative, survey-based study based on extant literature. In terms of constructing my survey instrument, all of the survey instruments were taken from extant literature, and all of them were taken from A star category in the ABDC ranking list, as well as I have included different scale points. So, which is a recommendation provided by Podsakov et al. In 2003. So, to prescriptively reduce the common method bias of my study, as well as it contains both higher order and lower order components, which again improves the, which again provides many benefits in terms of methodology. All are in compliance with recommendations of extant literature. And in terms of data analysis, I use Smart PLS version 4.0.84, as well as for data cleaning, I used SPSS version 26. And the unit of analysis is individual level. So I am looking towards a team member who has worked with the leader for more than 9 months or more. So that would allow the team member to give a very good, allow the team member to have a very good understanding about the leaders, because the team member is rating the leader in my survey instrument. This was taken from an extant literature, similar extant literature, as well as the team member should be a team member should be coming from a team which has 4 or more members. Again, similar practice adopted from extant literature. So these were filtering questions in my survey as well. In terms of the sampling, I used purposive sampling because I had some filtering conditions. So I had to make sure that I took the right sample, which represented my population. And this was my questionnaire. As you can see, it is a combination of high order and low order constructs, as well as you can see the extant literature that I have taken as well. So I got feedback from my supervisor, as well as the industry practitioner, as well as another 2 academics in terms of the layout of my questionnaire, the aesthetization, whether the instructions were clear. I did a pilot study to understand all of that. So it was a very comprehensive process, and I distributed 600 questionnaires, out of which I had to eliminate certain questionnaires because of incompletion and because of certain incomplete surveys returned to me. Because of that, I had to eliminate, and my final sample size came to 462. As you can see, it complies with the thresholds, various thresholds recommended by different scholars. In terms of my data analysis, I will not spend much time. However, if required, I have included them in my annexures. I have performed procedural as well as required tests, recommended tests in terms of common method bias and likewise. And then I have performed lower order constructs as well as for higher order constructs, the relevant test, and all of it which met the thresholds. If required, I can explain that, but because of the time constraints, I'm going to straight away go into explaining the results. So in terms of my direct paths, the direct 3 hypotheses, all 3 were supported, meaning that there is a positive relationship between individual focused transformational leadership and the individual work performance, as well as there is a positive relationship between the individual focused transformational leadership and work engagement of the follower, as well as individual focused transformational leadership and the work engagement and the individual work performance of the follower. These were supported. And in terms of my mediation, as you can see, there's a partial mediation in terms of the results, meaning that work engagement of the followers mediates the relationship between individual focused transformational leadership and the individual work performance of the follower. However, in terms of my moderators, the 5th hypothesis, which stated that the followers' promotion regulatory focus moderates the relationship between individual focused transformational leadership and the work engagement, was supported, which was what was not supported was the final hypothesis, which stated that the followers' prevention regulatory focus. Prevention regulatory focus is, I explained earlier, is that they are motivated by the absence of negative aspects of work. So that was not supported in my study. So I don't have sufficient data to prove, to say that hypothesis is supported. So as it was not supported in the results of my study. So in terms of the discussion, I will, because of the time constraints, I will mainly focus on the hypothesis that was not supported in my study. So the sixth hypothesis, so which stated that the followers regulatory prevention regulatory focus moderates the relationship between individual focused transformational leadership and work engagement. So when we look at, I earlier also said that this came from an area of contradiction in literature. So there were literature supporting this and there were literature opposing this view. So in terms of looking at the literature, in terms of existing literature, many studies have actually recommended that rather than transformational leadership, transactional leadership would be more suitable for a follower with prevention regulatory focus. So transactional leadership is earlier was explained by seminal articles as the opposite of transformational leadership, but later subsequent views were developed. But transactional leadership is a style where compared to transformational leadership, it does not exactly focus on, it doesn't pay specific attention in terms of developing the follower, but rather the leader would give a task and the follower can do such kind of task. So that would be more suitable for a follower with prevention regulatory focus. In other words, someone who is motivated by the absence of negative aspects, such as someone who is trying to avoid demotions, someone who's trying to avoid negative feedback, punishments. So that would be more suitable. So that is what the extant literature says. Anyways, my hypothesis was not supported in terms of that. So in terms of theoretical implications, I have mainly three. One thing is that, as I said earlier also, the theory of transformational leadership does not sufficiently explain specifically the individual focused transformational leadership and how individual focused transformational leadership improves the follower's performance. So my study looks towards that effect specifically, as well as incorporates the attributes, the followers' attributes of work engagement and regulatory focus in terms of that, as well as my study departs from treating transformational leadership as an umbrella construct, as a unitary construct. My study acknowledges the different levels of influence a transformational leader can depict. As I said, individual focused transformational leadership is one such level. And also, as I said earlier also, one of the main criticisms for transformational leadership is actually in its conceptualization and operationalization. There are many, but the most prominent one is MLQ, the multi-factor leadership questionnaire. So this operationalization and conceptualization has been facing many criticisms. So I departed from using that and I adopted Wang and Howell's conceptualization and operationalization, which specifically focuses on individual focused transformational leadership. So I wanted to capture that. So those are my theoretical implications. In terms of my managerial implications, one main implication would be in terms of recruitment. So if a company, if a team of that company is led by an individual focused transformational leader, based on the findings of my study, I am recommending that followers with promotion regulatory focus should be onboarded for such a team rather than a follower with prevention regulatory focus. And also, if a company is trying to improve the performance of each and individual team member of a team, it is better to appoint a leader with individual focused transformational leadership for that team. And also in terms of learning and development, the L&D initiatives of a company, it is as transformational leadership based on the extant literature is a leadership that can be learned and can be taught. So I am recommending the L&D initiatives of a company to focus on teaching individual focused transformational leadership and training leaders, team leaders to have that kind of leadership to depict to their team members. So in terms of limitations, the obvious one is that this has a cross-sectional design. So obviously I cannot determine causality or any of that because of the nature of the design. And also this used a single source data set, meaning that the followers rated the leadership So that obviously might not give the best estimation of the leadership of that person. And also a follower can rate his or her own performance to be very high when the reality can be different. So obviously those are limitations, and based on that I am recommending multi-wave and multi-source studies in the future, as well as the result of partial mediation is very intriguing because it shows that there can be other mediations that can exist, which can be a great area that future studies can be conducted upon. So in conclusion, that is the conclusion of my study. I think I am running out of time. So in conclusion, that is my research study in a nutshell, and thank you very much for your time. And I would like to hear the comments of the panel so that I can improve my study more.
Thank you, Bhagya. One quick comment. Can you go to your research model, please? Yes, you talk about this transactional leadership as well. I just wanted to know, how do you differentiate between this regulatory focus and transactional leadership?
I thank you for that question, madam. So in terms of regulatory focus, the literature says two different types. I don't think I got the question properly actually
Right.
from
So
you.
I'm asking what, so have you noticed any difference between regulatory focus and transactional leadership?
In terms of the association.
Yes. So
Right.
now, yes. Do you have any answer?
Yes, ma'am. So thank you for that question. So regulatory focus is an attribute, and in this case, I'm looking at the attribute of the team member. So either a team member can be motivated by promotions, by recognition, that kind of thing, or that team member might look towards avoiding punishments, avoiding demotions, that kind of thing. In the literature,
Yes, that is what
Yeah.
transactional leadership is.
yes,
So you do a transaction with the follower in terms of
Yes.
rewards and punishment.
yes.
Right. So my issue is, how did you sort of from the independent variables as a transformational, and then the essence of this regulatory focus is transactional for me.
Mainly, madam, in terms of extant literature, they have talked about regulatory focus in relation to both transformational and transactional. And later, when that last hypothesis was not supported, I found out that there was another article which mainly talked about transformational leadership more in relation to promotion regulatory focus, and transactional leadership more in towards prevention regulatory focus.
So because transactional is both of it, right? These are two types of reinforcement, positive and negative. So that is
Yeah.
the basis of transactional.
Positive and madam, absence of positive.
So that you said negative feedback.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is-
Avoiding negative feedback. So,
Avoiding negative
yes.
feedback. Okay, right. So that is a part of transaction.
Yes.
So think about it.
Yes,
right?
madam.
Think
Yeah.
about it. And one last question. Your sample include leaders or followers?
Followers, madam.
Then you study transformational leadership as pursued by the followers.
Yes, madam. Yes, that's a big limitation. So, as I said earlier also, so the followers are rating themselves, obviously, and also are rating the leadership, which is why I took specifically followers who have worked with a leader for more than 9 months or more, so that they would have some understanding of the leadership. But as you said, that the limitation is there. So as the future direction, as I mentioned earlier also, I can go for multi-source data sets where the follower would rate the leader, and the leader would rate the follower, because the follower can also say, I am performing very well, when the reality can be different.
Right. So one last sort of a comment. So in your presentation, when you are telling certain things, your focus is more on follower centric, right? But you have done leader centric,
Yes.
right? So remember that. Huh?
Yes, madam. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Thapatu. Now, one quick comment I want to just to clarify now from a leader's point of view, based on your study, looking forward, what they should do, they should take a generalist approach or like individual approach.
Sir, I am focusing on individual
No,
focus.
This is not about questioning. the way forward, future, like other business leaders or institutional leaders, what they should take it up out of your study?
Based on the findings of my study, they should focus on different individuals because different individuals have different attributes. So for example, one can have a promotion regulatory focus, whereas another can have a prevention regulatory focus. So I would, rather than generic, I would recommend, based on the findings of my study, individual focus.
Have you thought about taking it forward to do the study at next level? Or?
I submitted it to a journal, sir. So it's going in the process so far.
Oh, wonderful. Right. So keep your good work continuing. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right. Well, this concludes the I think formal 4 presentations. Probably you can give a quick comment. Yeah.
So actually, transformational leadership was earlier looked at by the scholars as a unitary construct, meaning that the influence of transformational is same for everyone. Later, scholars introduced, rather Kark and Shamir 2002 in their seminal article, they said that you can't look at the influence of transformational leadership in that manner because it is very complex. So they said there are 2 effects, meaning that the transformational leaders can develop the same leadership to the entire team, but also develop different leadership to different individuals of the same team based on each and every team member's attributes. So that is individual focused transformation leadership, which I looked at. Yes. So I think based on the findings of my study, I'm saying if the team member, so that is the follower, if that team member has a promotion regulatory focus, then that team member is better suited for a leader with individual focused transformation leadership. I don't because my findings did not support, I can't say that transnational leadership is suitable for a person with a prevention regulatory focus, but that can be a great future research area. But sir, I wouldn't say that is the same for everyone, because someone can have different prevention regulatory focus, and according to my study, such kind of a person should not be under an individual focused transformation leader. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much. Right. So before I hand over the final proceedings to Shamila Vadugidara, let me say thank the coordinator for this stream one to Dr. A.K.L. Chavadana, and wonderful coordination as well as the technical support from both Ms. Shamila and Ms. Sudesh Hettiarachchi. Before we conclude and handing over, Dr. Atapat, you want to say anything overall brief in like 1 minute?
Of course, all the 4 presentation we had today was, I would say, excellent, right? So they were really structured, they were backed by theories, and they were, learner researchers trying their best to sort of showcase the scholarliness at their best. So I congratulate the PIM, the lecturers at PIM, and the students who put their effort on sort of coming out of this excellent level of output in their master's level. So congratulate you all.
Well done. I think this outside-in perspective, since Dr. Atapattu is coming from, but even though she is contributing quite regularly to the PIM work, but these perspectives are very good for your future research. All the best. Thank you very much. Over to you, Shamila. May I invite Director Dr. Sena Kalumgamge to come forward. Dear members in the audience, after the formal recipients of your certificates and this thing, like the 4 presenters can have a photograph with the coordinator and the director and the 2 panel members. After that, let me invite all the other members to join for the final photograph. Right.
MRMCJK Ratnayaka. MASH Sugatapala. P. Bhagya Di Fernando.